That's their spot.
31 years ago, I met John through the CB radio. His name was Trapper John. My name was the Crocodile. And I used to sneak out of my parents' house to my girlfriend's house and drive home at 2 in the morning and talk to John on the way home. And we had started a friendship that lasted for 30 years. We had so many fun times and good memories, and just a sweet, amazing, gentle man who, it's just that when I heard this news, I was absolutely devastated. The best story I have about John was he would come over to my family's house for Christmas Eve every year for about 5 years straight. And my mom would always have a present under the table for whoever came. So she had one for John this one year. So John said, "Oh, thank you." So he opens the present, and it's a pair of dangling earrings about his And he says, "Well, Mrs. Yarden, thank you very much." And she says, "Oh my God, that was meant for Susie," or something like that. So she gave John another gift. So John opens this one, and it's this bustier thing. Oh my God, I gave you the wrong one again. And we just had the greatest time. So John put that on with the earrings. I wish I had the pictures, but that was the best time. And John added so much to our family's life by coming over those. I think it was 5 years in a row he came over. And my other greatest memory is calling to talk to John on the phone and Mary answering. And I've told some of you, maybe it's because I'm Italian and she associates me with food, but I'd call and she'd say, "Hi, Vince, where's my pizza?" I'd say, "So I'm coming." She says, "The last time you didn't show up. And you can't talk to Johnny," and she called him Johnny, I don't know if you remember that. She always said, "You can't talk to Johnny until I know you're bringing my pizza." And the next time I called, it'd be, "Where's my tacos?" And the next time I called, it'd be, "Where's my lasagna?" And it was just this little joke that Mary and I had. And I think my third best memory of John is John and Mary and I used to go play golf with Kevin, and that's how I met Kevin through John. We'd go play golf and see Mary golfing with John. John was so happy, and it was such a proud moment. It's like the saddest thing that I think was happening, besides my father dying. John, hearing this from Kevin last week was just beyond sad. So, thank you for doing this, Kevin. I'm glad you all are here. Every one of you has a relationship with John, and I'm glad that you all came. I'm glad that we could be a part of it. So,
Thanks, Vince.
yeah.
I don't really know any stories, but I will say I met John in high school in 1977, and I was his date to the prom. And my mother loved him, and Marion, her husband, loved me, and we had beautiful times together. We were always going to the beach together. I remember one year we were going to Halloween parties all the time, and I was dressed as a cat, and he was dressed as a cone head.
I remember that.
And I remember he just had so many wonderful times together. It's just too many to mention, but what I remember mostly about him was that he was the most kindest man I've ever met. I had a bad thing to say about anyone, and I miss him. I'm glad that he allowed me back into his life after I went away to Denver with my husband. I was going through so much stuff with him, but he always had the best way of listening to you. That was one thing I noticed about John. He listened to you. He never interrupted you, and you could talk for hours and he just listened. And he was always there for you whenever you needed him, and he was a good friend, and I'll always miss him. And I know he's here today. But we have so many beautiful memories, going to the beach together, fun parties, me going to their house, and him coming over to my house, and all of us getting together, and there's just so many memories. But like I said, he was just one of the kindest men I've ever met. Never got mad, never got angry, never complained about anyone, never called anybody names in front of me. He was just the gentlest soul, and I think personally that he's better off right now because he's had such a rough life. Right now, I think he's finally at peace because he had a really rough time, especially dealing with his mother and then Patty, and then the house. And that was the hardest part for me to see, was him losing that beautiful house that we all had memories at. And was devastating for him, and he had nothing either. But I know he was loved, and he has a lot of love here. And thank you for allowing me to speak, because I know we're all emotional today. It's terrible. But he's just really made a big, he was a very dear friend of mine. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
I'll go.
Thanks, Steve.
I knew John casually through Kevin, and Heidi and I would come on 4th of July and spend time with him. And one of the biggest impressions he had on me was just how kind he was, especially to his wife. He was so patient and so kind, and was, to me, was an example of how somebody should treat their significant other.
Thanks, Steve.
So I couldn't think of anything to say, but I got here. When I met John, which was in junior high school, I think it was 7th grade, it would be an understatement to say that I was maybe a little bit of an outsider in most social circles. And John wasn't, you always have the cool kids in school. He wasn't one of the regular cool kids. He was actually so cool he created his own brand. He just had his own little special following. Just didn't worry about anybody else. And the cool thing is the kids who followed this cool kid were like really cool kids. It was
They were the true cool kids.
They were the true cool kids, you're right. It was a really good game. So what I remember from the beginning is that I was accepted in a group. I was accepted in a group because I was an outcast my entire life up till then. He was a loving, kind man. The same thing that all of you guys have said. And the only story that really sticks out in my mind, well, the only one that I can repeat in front of other people that sticks out in my mind, is one time I believe that it was his either 13th or 14th birthday party, and we went to Golfland to play. We all did our little thing, and I believe it was John's idea, now that I think about it, for me to ride home, because I was the first one that his dad was going to drop off, on the roof rack on their old station wagon. So I climbed up onto the roof rack and hung on. And when we got to my house, pulled into the driveway, I just sort of slid off the thing and I walked by and thanked his dad. And that was the only time in my entire life I saw Roy get angry. He was not happy when he found out that I rode all the way home on the roof of the car. But everybody else thought it was kind of cute. And I have nothing but good memories of John, just the same way you guys did. And that everyone else has said here. He was just a loving, kind man. And I am very sad that he's gone. But it's really nice that everyone is here to remember him together. Thank you.
I have to follow that one because I too was not accepted. I felt like I was an outsider. And boy, I thought Dave Mescon was I thought you were one of the cool kids at school.
You poor
And I too, John accepted people for who they were. And if you weren't in one of the cool cliques, that didn't matter. And also, I have to add something about Roy, John's dad. John's dad, I've never seen him with anything other than a really cool demeanor. And if you'd seen him with something outside of that, that was unusual. John, as well as Kevin, and you were some of the best friends to me through middle school and high school, and beyond. You accept people for who they are, and you don't look at whether you're cool or how cool you are, and you look at people for who they are underneath all of that. And that means more to me than anything else. And John's family as well, Roy and Mary, meant a lot to me. And as the home that they shared was a bit of a sanctuary for me when I was young. It wasn't so comfortable for me at home. And excuse me. It was a place to go after school and in the evenings, and sometimes into the late evenings. A place to be with your friends, and it was a safe place. And that was really important to a young developing person, and I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Okay, I'm Rick, and I don't know how many people met John through Kevin, or how many people met Kevin through John, or however it worked out. But the one story that will always live with me for the rest of my life is I met both of them to Kevin. I've already told a few of you this story, so I'm just repeating it. I come home one day, I think it was like 16 years ago, and there was John's car parked out across the street at my neighbor's house, and these three people in this car. And I walk in, and my mom calls me and says, "Would you go outside and see what's going on in that car? I don't know, there are kids in there, and they may be dangerous. I don't know, but go out and find out what's going on." And you know, this was back in the day when, you know, you would go look at some, you know, go stick your head into some strange car.
Very good.
You know, and it was acceptable. And I walked outside, and I kind of poked my head in, and I said, you know, I'm sorry to bother you guys, but like my mom asked me to come out here and see what's going on, because, you know, I mean, she told me to kind of ask you guys to like leave, and Kevin, and it was Kevin and John, and I don't know if you guys know April, but the three of them were basically sitting in his car across the street from my house drinking.
In the car.
I mean, these guys were so cool. And I was also one of those not so cool people in school. I you know, one friend for all time. But these guys were so cool, and we were sitting there talking for about 25 minutes, and I guess I kind of had the hots for April. Because I thought she was really cool. So, and they said, well, you know, here, have a drink. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting in the car with these guys, just partying. And we're just talking. I don't even remember what the hell we were talking about. But about an hour later, my mom comes straight out of the house. And she goes, Richie, what is going on out there?
Just talk.
Okay, so I'm already halfway, 3 sheets to the wind. And I said, Mom, don't worry, these guys are cool. They're not going to throw their bottles in the ivy. And she kind of huffs and goes back and says, okay. And it was just, I think we were there for like almost 2.5 hours, just sitting there partying and having a good time. And I just remember walking back into the house and thinking to myself, oh my all my friends were like this. You know, because it was, you know, I don't know, man. In Grant, I didn't trust anybody to be cool. You know, you were always on your guard.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was thinking, oh my God, what if they're going to become assholes the moment I see them? And whenever I saw John and Grant, he was always just, he was just the richest heart.
Yeah.
And you're right, he did like to listen. He would listen, and he would make no judgments. He would listen, and it would always be comforting. He wouldn't even have to say anything, just always be comforting. I don't know if it was his voice. You know, he had this really amazingly super, Gary Owen, super rich voice. But he was an amazingly kind human being. Okay, I got one more story. And I told this one too, so if anybody wants to leave and go get a cup of coffee. So, years later, I married this lady. Her name was Carrie. And now I finally figured out how the story came about. One day, Carrie tells me, so I've been invited to the wedding of an old friend of mine named John. And I kind of asked her, and she said, yeah, well, John and I were like boyfriend and girlfriend, and, you know, she gave me some details. And she said, but he's getting married, and he invited me to the wedding, I'd like to go, and would you, and let's go, okay? And I said, okay, fine. So we get to the wedding, and up walks John. And then a moment later, up walks Kevin.
Oh my
And I look over at John and I say, dude, what the fuck are you doing here? And he says, dude, what are you doing here? And then Kevin walks up and goes, what are you doing here? And curious, like in a complete loss, like, what the hell is going on? Needless to say, yeah, it just totally blew my mind. And it was interesting how even after that moment, we kind of lost touch. But like 10 years later, when, let's just say 20 years later, John kind of was one of those fixtures in Kevin's life that was always a beautiful part of the extension of this love. You know, this love that he's gotten in this room. And it is the love that I got from all of you guys that helped me through the hardest time in my life of leaving my life after 30 years. And I don't know what kind of pain the man went through coming towards the end of his life. Kevin calls me up and he said, and I'm living with my girlfriend at the time, he says, hey man, do you think you can find a place for John and Patty to live? And because he knew that my girlfriend had an apartment complex and I couldn't do anything for him. Whose phone is it?
I'm sorry.
They want just to work.
John calling.
It's John. I didn't know this. Not on camera. You're screaming up when you get up here. That's it.
You have to work on.
Oh, God. No way, really? Sorry.
But I mean, this was just a little while ago. I had to find out that yeah. I don't know. He deserved it. He deserved the help. He really did. One of the things, that is one of the things I do regret all my life. Anyway, have a happy